Hello, my fellow K-popers. In today's K-pop conversations, I will be talking about my theory, speculation about ARTMS's Birth. Birth is ARTMS's pre-release single ahead of their May comeback, and as we all know, ARTMS is a group consisting of 5 former Loona members: Kimlip, Jinsoul, Choerry, Heejin, and Haseul. I'm calling this my theory speculation because this is just me trying to make sense of like what happened after the Loona disbandment, you know, in the storyline. Just me trying to make this kind of connection, and I'm in no way an expert K-pop theorist. There are lots of K-pop stans who are so good at like researching and snooping and coming up with theories. Our fellow orbits that are theorizing about what the storyline is for Birth and what it means. And they're probably right. Like, if you're watching this video, this is just like me sharing what I think about it. Like, what I'm about to say is probably like 1000% wrong, but I just like wanted to share it out. And if you're wondering why I have a sticker over one of the lens of my glasses, it's because I actually have a sty and my right eye is pretty swollen right now. I was actually going to try to wear this eye patch, but I didn't want to look like a pirate, and also the strap on this is pretty tight even if I loosen it, and also like my eye would not get any air, and I think it will help my eye heal faster if I let it get some air. That's why I just put like a sticker over this lens to just cover it. Okay, so I'm going to split my theory speculation into several parts, so be sure to check the chapters. First, I'm going to start off with what happened after Paint the Town era and Flip That era, and then like try to talk about how like ARTMS, Loosemble, and Chuu and Yves got to the situations that they're in, but like in the storyline. In Paint the Town, remember how it seemed like Loona was at war fighting these unseen forces? Some people said it was Shadow Loona, some people said it was like the enemy, whatever it was, I don't know. So in my head, in Paint the Town, it seemed like Loona won the battle, right? So they're like happy, like yay. And I also think this was probably the same kind of, this was the battle that came about because of the actions of the So What music video. Because in So What, Olivia burned the moon, and I think the girls kind of like declared war on the enemy that was oppressing them, making them feel that they couldn't be free in, you know, the different worlds that they were living in or traveling through. So that's my take. So in Paint the Town, they thought they won, they're happy, and So What, they started that war. And then in Flip That era, I remember how lots of orbits were saying this could be like a flashback moment, because there was like wasn't there like a clock on the train or something? I don't remember. But in Flip That era, in the music video, all the girls are happy, they are reunited, and as we know, in the Loonaverse, the Loona members are always like, I feel like they're always trying to come together and be united, like in Hi. That's when they're most happy and feel safe and protected, and you know, just like girl power. When they get separated, you know, like bad things happen, like they should always be together but they just get separated. So to me, Flip That era feels like a flashback just because of like the clock, and they're all happy and they're reunited. The basis of my theory speculation has to do with how often like celebrities, musicians, artists will take real life experiences and put it into their work. And a recent example of this is Shakira, and she recently released an album that's just kind of like where she continued to pour her heart out into it because she went through like a messy divorce and how it affected her. So the Loona members went through like a really nasty court battle with BBC and the disbandment, and just so much drama and trauma. So whether it's intentional or not, whether it's true or not, I feel like in lots of ways the producers, artistic directors with ARTMS are like taking that into account, because it just feels like that. So like they went through all this pain and now we're gonna put it in the work and like show it somehow. Since in Paint the Town, Loona thought they won the war, they thought they could be safe and relax. But my theory is that there was actually a second battle that was not seen to us orbits, that happened in the story, like representing the court battle. So I feel like there was another battle that happened and it was nasty, and I feel like this battle was triggered by oddeyecircle's Air Force One. We have Jinsoul, Choerry, and Kimlip crashing this super fancy party or event where everyone's dressed up in like fancy outfits. And I think that Jinsoul, Choerry, and Kimlip are actually there to finish the defeat of the enemy. So I think in Paint the Town, the enemy, the big enemy, sent their minions to attack Loona, which was, you know, all those people with the weapons that we didn't really get to see them, but they were fighting them, and Loona defeated the minions. But now you gotta go and get the big boss. So I think Jinsoul, Kimlip, and Choerry went to this fancy event because the big boss would make an appearance there. And Heejin being there with her oddeyecircle, you know, at the end of Air Force One, we see a clip of her at the party. My imagination, I'm like, okay, this looks like a undercover operation. Like Heejin somehow made like fake invitations or whatever, got into the party, and she's like the inside man, the inside woman. So she's in there, and maybe she has some kind of like ear device or something, and she's letting Kimlip, Jinsoul, and Choerry know like this is what's happening so far at the party. You know, like those action movies where they like go undercover and whatever. Heejin finds out where the enemy is. So then on cue, Jinsoul, Kimlip, and Choerry come, and you know, they start like terrorizing the party. And I think just when they're all four of them are about to confront the big enemy, you know, I think at this point they're feeling very confident, like 4 against 1. And you know, Kimlip, Jinsoul, and Choerry, they're oddeyecircle members, you know, they have cool powers, strong powers. Since in Air Force One we don't see the rest of the members, the way I'm going to justify that is I think that the enemy just like defeats Jinsoul, Kimlip, Choerry, and Heejin. I think that they just like get defeated, and then I think the big enemy finds out where the rest of the members are and just like goes after all of them. Now at this point, after Air Force One, I think all of the girls in the storyline, all 12 girls, I think that they're just all defeated. Like some of them are badly injured, maybe some of them are like severely injured, and you know, they're like lost, they're scared, they're angry, they're frustrated. It's very like sad because they've been through the battle constantly. At this point, they get separated when like the enemy comes and just like attacks them so viciously. So I think they all get like separated, and they don't like have a way to find each other like at the moment. So this is how I explain like why Yves is alone and Chuu is alone, and why the Loosemble members are together. I think that since oddeyecircle are arguably the most powerful members in the Loonaverse, you know, Jinsoul has the teleportation and Kimlip has super speed, and then Choerry can travel through portals and worlds. I think they were always the members that really had the power. And then like Heejin and Haseul, in Haseul's music video, her like Loona era solo where she's like wearing white and representing like a bird, and then she's like in black, like representing two sides. I don't know how, but I always felt like maybe Haseul had powers too, and we just didn't know. Because if you look at Paint the Town, when Haseul's singing and the lip is white and she goes like this with her hand, like fire comes out. So I think Haseul has powers or had powers. And then Heejin, like I said before, we saw her walking on air. I think she had powers too. So I think that in this final battle, the girls were making like a game plan, and oddeyecircle said we're the ones with like the real actual powers, the most powers. And you know, Heejin has some power, and then Haseul might have some power. So then I think that's why the oddeyecircles said, you know, we'll go and directly confront the enemy, and then you guys just like be ready for our call or to jump in or to do something. I think that the other members, I think Loosemble members like Hyunjin, Yeojin, Gowon, Hyeju, I think those 4 members never actually had powers, like even in the Loonaverse. Because like the only time I think I remember Gowon exhibiting some kind of supernatural ability was when in the Why Not music video she was floating over a hurricane or flying over a hurricane. Yeah, and then we know Vivi is an android, was an android, is now human or not, I don't know. To explain why Gowon was able to do that, and then me saying that she maybe never really had powers, I would argue that in the Why Not bridge, when the girls are dancing on the moon holding hands, that looks like some kind of ritual. So I feel like all of the girls have always been connected and admirers of the moon, and I feel like they would engage in rituals, and somehow they were able to manifest or connect to like moon magic, and along with oddeyecircle's supernatural powers and abilities, mix that together. I think that's how all 12 girls were able to share some of the powers and magic, kind of like Tinkerbell's pixie dust in Peter Pan, where you know if you catch some of it you can fly, but it's like temporary. So yeah, I think from the 12 Loona members, oddeyecircle members were always the one who actually had powers, and then Heejin as well, and then I guess Haseul, and then like the other ones, I don't think they actually had powers. I think altogether they harvested moon magic and mixed that with oddeyecircle's powers, and they were all able to sort of like have a taste of being powerful too and using that. But I think it was always like kind of temporary, like maybe there was like always a time limit, and I guess that's why they continue to do like rituals and stuff to be connected to that magic and for them all to be able to use it somehow. And then Vivi being an android, I still don't know how she became an android, but I guess there's a power in that too. So Loosemble members were already together. Chuu probably was like, I'm gonna go here real quick, and then but then the attack happened, then she got separated because she was already like a distance away from them. And I think same thing with Yves, probably was somewhere and got separated. And then since oddeyecircle and Heejin were already the ones at the party where the final battle happened, they were, you know, the ones facing them, they were already together. So then to me that explains how they are in ARTMS. And then for Haseul, I'm just gonna say maybe she was like staying close with like oddeyecircle and Heejin. Like maybe she was like outside in the getaway car. Now I'm going to try to explain how the Loosemble girlies are now like astronaut space cadets. My little funny theory for this is that Hyunjin, while being separated and realizing that they don't have access to the moon magic anymore, they don't know where oddeyecircle is, so they don't really have access to the magic right now, but they do have Vivi, and Vivi is an android. So whether she is full android right now or part android or human, I'm gonna say she's still part android at this time. So I think Hyunjin using Vivi's knowledge and expertise about like machines, like technology, because Vivi's an android, right? So Vivi must know about like how technology works and things like that, with herself being composed of robotic metal parts and having her robotic odd eye. So I think Hyunjin talks to the Loosemble girlies and says, hey, we need to find everyone else. We need to find the rest of, you know, our friends. We need to get back together, because remember in Loosemble's sensitive MV, you know, we see them in the spaceship, and then they mentioned looking for their friends, and I think like a teaser trailer for the sensitive MV before it came out, like looking for their friends. So I'm grasping onto that phrase for dear life for the OT12 comeback. I think Hyunjin is like, okay, Vivi, we need to figure out a way to travel through space and to the other planets or worlds to find the rest of our friends, because we just went through this incredibly traumatic, horrific battle, and the girls start scouting for like materials to build their spaceship. This is where it gets kind of iffy. So I think they research and they go to places where they can get like technology, scraps of metal for free, and then like maybe they somehow are able to purchase some of it. I don't know. But they somehow end up being able to build this spaceship that we see in the sensitive MV. So then they start on their mission to look for the other girls. In Chuu's solo debut, she has like this kind of friendly monster Pixar cute animated creature following her around because she's like sad. And then I think the monster creature, maybe this represents like a nice benevolent force in the world that she's at that is just like friendly and nice. And the monster is like, okay, I know you're lost, I know you're scared, but I'm gonna stick by your side and you know, I'll help you. And then Yves, in real life, Yves has not done any official promotions aside from, I think she's uploading videos to her YouTube channel, and she helped write and produce Strawberry Soda for Loosemble's Sensitive album. But in the storyline, I feel like Yves is also somewhere else. In my head, Birth is showing ARTMS picking up from the aftermath of the final battle that happened in Air Force One, that we did not get to see the continuation of. We saw like the beginning when it looked like Loona was finally defeating the final, you know, the big enemy. In Birth, I believe all 5 of the members are representing a moment of a scene that they all went through. The scene where Jinsoul is standing in front of ARTMS and the wind is blowing in her hair and ARTMS is just towering over her, and Jinsoul, to me, looks like she's trying to stay calm and be silent and just be neutral. Because, you know, when we as humans, right, if we were ever to see a god, a goddess, aliens, a ghost, you know, angels, you know, I believe our bodies would go into freeze mode. We are just mere humans, and these supernatural, otherworldly beings are taller, and they could probably kill us with a snap of their finger, with a look of their eye. You know, we'd be terrified. And if you look at Jinsoul, she looks terrified, but she's trying to keep it together because, you know, she doesn't know if this thing is gonna attack her. She doesn't know if this thing is just another trick of the enemy coming to finally finish them off. Is this the enemy themselves taking a different form? Like, what is happening? ARTMS is offering Jinsoul a redemption deal. So remember, the ARTMS members are the members who got really badly injured in the battle, and they're lost, they're confused, they're ready to give up, right? They're like, this is the end. We don't want it to be, but it feels like the end. I feel like in the train scene where they're all sitting together illustrates this sentiment really clear. Like, they all look pretty defeated and sad, and they're just like, what do we do now? I don't know. We're just gonna sit in the train and just sulk in our despair. So I think ARTMS is offering Jinsoul a deal like, hey, I know you guys went through a lot, but I actually want to help you guys because I am a force of good, and I want to make sure that, you know, the forces of like evil are not prevailing and causing terror. So I feel like ARTMS actually has always been watching over the girls, even in the Looniverse era. I'm saying this now looking back, to try to connect it. Like, I never thought that when Loona was actually Loona. I'm just saying this now to try to make a connection. Since ARTMS is the goddess of the moon and hunting, maybe ARTMS and kind of always like noticed the girls and like maybe saw them together sometimes and watched over them and could sense their aura that they are good people and they are forces of good. ARTMS is saying to Jinsoul, I will help you and the other girls, offers to sacrifice herself, which is when we see ARTMS being split into 5, and then infusing part of herself in each of the 5 ARTMS members in like a kind of Voldemort Horcrux situation, where in Harry Potter, Voldemort split pieces of his soul into different objects so that if you encounter him and defeat him, he's not really dead because there's other pieces of him and he can always like a part of him can come out of another piece and he can like be alive again. So I think ARTMS offers this deal to Jinsoul and says, you know, I will split myself and you will have a part of me. I will be infused with you and I will be, you know, with you, literally in you. right? And Jinsoul accepts, which can explain why in certain concept photos and maybe on the train scene or in other scenes, people say Jinsoul's like looking off in the distance or like looking away. And I think it's because Jinsoul already had the encounter with ARTMS and is feeling a little more relieved, and but also trying to process, like, this is like really crazy, like. So I think Jinsoul represents that, like each member will have an encounter where they meet ARTMS. So, but I think Jinsoul doesn't say anything yet because maybe ARTMS is like, I'm gonna talk to each of you guys individually because it is ultimately your choice, and you know, it should not be forced upon, you know, whether all of you agree to it or some of you agree to it or not. So ARTMS offering the redemption deal perfectly aligns with the song Birth, like she's offering all of them a rebirth. Birth is a happy process, you know, when people have children and go through the cycle of pregnancy. It's joyous, it's happy, but birth is also a very painful and lonely process, because if you think about the fetus, the child in the stomach, yes, they are in the mother's body, they can hear the mother speaking, feel the mother's love, get the mother's nutrients, but they're also in a sac and they're kind of isolated and they're alone. And then suddenly 9 months later, you know, they are either pushed out or pulled out, and that can be very jarring and scary. Like, think of a baby being in a comfy, warm, maybe it's a kind of dark sac inside of the mom, and then they come out in the hospital and there's all these harsh bright lights, and there's like these beings that are picking them up, which are like the doctors, nurses, and the mother. And they're, you know, it's very scary at first, and you know, like, what is going on? But then the mother holds them in their arms and, you know, everything's okay. So with the song called Birth, I think it's showing the painful process of the ARTMS members, like them ceasing to exist and then being reborn again. And that being a painful process, kind of like the process of, like, you know, the vampire lore, how when someone turns into a vampire, all the blood is drained out of them, and then they have to drink the person that is turning them, they have to drink their blood. They come back, but it's like painful because like the body is like reanimating and getting used to everything. I feel like I've read stories where it was explained as like a very painful process. Then they come back and you know, now their body looks the same, but it's, well, mostly the same. There might be differences, but everything is different. The scene of Choerry in the little underground burrow, and then she disintegrates and is reborn through the roots of a plant and comes up. I think this scene is showing how each of the members were reborn through ARTMS's redemption deal, the rebirth, and I think it was very painful. Like, they had to go in there and like feel some type of pain, and then through some kind of the ARTMS goddess's magic, they come back and they look the same, but obviously they're different and some things are different, and now they have to navigate this new kind of life and their new form that looks the same but is kind of different. So I think when Choerry's coming up, I think it's showing like how painful the process was, but how it was also necessary, and they had to do it like alone. Like, I think they all accepted ARTMS's redemption deal. It had to be an individual process, and then later, you know, they came together. The scene of kimlip with the gust of wind blowing in her hair and this bright light flashing in her face, and you know, her singing. Now, at first I said, oh, maybe this is like Kimlip's first meeting with ARTMS, you know, the same way Jinsoul met ARTMS and had the bright light and the wind blowing in her face. But look at the angle. In this shot of Kimlip, it looks like she is facing downward and like the camera's facing upward. I feel like it complements like the animation drawings of the baby fetuses before the members go through the literal rebirth process that Choerry did underground through the roots and up. I think that ARTMS, I guess, turned them into these like fetus babies and then made them crash towards the planet or the world they're currently on. So I think she like had them crash, and then, you know, they hit the ground and they're in the burrow, and then they grow through the roots, and then they're reborn. I think this is her representing the scene of, you know, them as like the baby fetuses crashing so that they can, you know, do the actual birth process. At the end, when Heejin is running away and she's carrying all these bags of luggage, and she's running through the street and she is confronted by Artemis. Out of all the 5 girls, I think Heejin is the one that is like broken the most from the defeat of the final battle they had with the enemy. And I think Heejin is like, she wants to go off on her own. She wants to be alone. She just wants to run away from everything. She doesn't want to try and make up another plan. They've made plans before, they've strategized, they've fought so many times, and Heejin is just literally done, and she just wants to be alone. She just wants to numb the pain she's feeling. So she's like, I'm just gonna get out of here. I don't know where I'm going, I don't know how to get anywhere, but I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna take all my stuff. And then Artemis appears. So maybe Heejin is like the last one that meets Artemis. I think the other girls like try to stop Heejin, but Heejin's like, no, I'm going, I want to be alone. So then she sees Artemis, and when we see Heejin crying, I think Heejin is just like, oh, this must be another trick of, this is the enemy taking on a different form, and you know, this is the end. The enemy's finally going to make me cease to exist, Kill her. So I think Heejin is crying because she's so sad and broken, and she's like, this is how I'm gonna go. I'm gonna be finished off by the enemy. And there's also a small part of Heejin that doesn't want to go, doesn't want to be, you know, Killed by the enemy. So I think Heejin crying is just showing that, you know, she wants to continue, she wants to live. And then Artemis is like, oh, wait a second, I'm actually here to help. Listen to me real quick. And then Artemis explains the whole redemption deal, and Heejin accepts and goes through the being like a baby fetus, crashing into the earth, getting into the underground, going through the roots, and being reborn like all of the other members. And then they reunite. For Haseul, it's interesting because when I first watched it, I was like, you know, what is Haseul doing just chilling in like a cabin while the rest of the girls being active in the storyline, while Haseul is just like sitting down eating cake. So I think Haseul represents, you know, what was happening before Artemis appeared to them. So on the train, you know, they're all defeated, they're all sad, they don't know what to do. So I think the Artemis girlies, they get out and they rent a room in a cabin, a bed and breakfast, an Airbnb, you know, because this MV looks like they're in like the countryside. Like, this doesn't look like they're in the city aside from Heejin's scene and the train, but like the drawings and the folklore elements seem like they're in the countryside. So I think the girls are staying in like a room in a cabin or something, and you know, Haseul is showing like them like trying to eat or whatever, have like a moment of normalcy, but you know, they're like in limbo. And then I think Artemis needs to get them in specific locations to speak with them, because remember, Artemis is a goddess, and even though the gods and goddesses according to Greek mythology are very powerful, I feel that Artemis does not want to appear just randomly in front of humans. It will cause a scene, the humans might attack her. She does not really want to interfere or like mess up the balance of like the human world or whatever world this is. When we see Haseul just literally face plant into the cake, that move right there reminded me of like a horror movie. That reminded me of that just screams horror movie, just her face planting, because the way it's done, it does not look like she wants to do it. It looks like something is making her body do it, because you know, she seemed fine in those scenes. She didn't seem like, you know, she was just like sitting there, and it was too abrupt. I think Artemis has to get the girls in like specific locations that are like away from people, so people don't cause a scene and force Artemis to attack. I think Haseul is showing, you know, how each member was, I guess, temporarily knocked out or temporarily black out, and then they appear somewhere else at a convenient location that Artemis can speak to them. I mean, if you look at Jinsoul in front of Artemis, the background is all dark and black, so maybe they were like outside in a more deserted area of the countryside or something. Haseul is showing how maybe Artemis just like used her goddess magic to be like, okay, you go sleepy time now, and then I make you appear somewhere else so I can talk to you. The scene of the drawing of like the 5 plant people, I think that is showing how like the members have been reborn, but their bodies are not familiar territory to them anymore. You know, like how I said in vampire stories, how people get turned and their body is like 50% the same. Like they may look the same, but maybe some vampire stories, the eyes change, the skin gets pale, the hair gets different, but like the features are the same. And then of course they have to drink blood. So I think this shows how like the members they're back in a body that is similar to their old body, but there's like they feel different, and they need to figure out what to do now. You know, now they are bounded, their body is bounded, literally holding a piece of a ancient being goddess, and the goddess seems nice and wants to help, but they've never done anything like this before. And remember, gods, goddesses, magical beings, you know, any strangers that you meet, you know, they can't be trusted. So while I believe Artemis is a force of good here and trying to help the girls, you know, we don't really know much about Artemis. Like, you know, okay, you want to help good people and you think the girls are good, but why really would you split yourself up and fuse yourself literally with them? The deer-like creature that Artemis shoots in towards the beginning of the MV and like the drawing, people say it looks like a Wendigo creature because it has, you know, like looks like a lion, a bear, a deer all into one. I know some orbits were saying that maybe that represents Vivi, because Vivi, her animal is a deer and she's being shot by Artemis. So is this showing like how they killed Vivi or something? But I don't agree with that, because a deer is a deer and that creature is that creature. Yeah, that creature obviously is like a hybrid of some sort, like a mix. I don't think that's supposed to represent Vivi. I don't want to believe it does. I think that scene is just showing Artemis is a goddess of the moon and of hunting. I think that's just a way to illustrate it and to illustrate her power. And the whole aesthetic and vibe of the Birth MV screams horror movie, folklore, surrealism, and stop motion, like claymation stop motion. When I saw Choerry, you know, disintegrating and then coming back to life, reborn through the roots of that plant and standing up, it reminded me of like stop motion claymation animation. Like the way it seemed like she was getting up and her movements were kind of robotic and it wasn't as smooth, and the way she seemed to fit right in with the background, which seems like a oil painting that is moving, like it's alive, like she feels like she's part of the animation. I really like that. Feels like she's part of the drawing and it came to life somehow. Honestly, this music video scared me, just like the visuals and the drawings. And I like scary movies, like I like watching scary movies and everything like that, but I don't know why this scared me so much. Even when I saw Irene and Solgi's monster and we had the funny Irene CGI monster and, you know, the rest of the monster music video, it didn't scare me. Like, it was creepy, I appreciated it, and the instrumental was creepy too, but it didn't scare me. But this one genuinely did. And the folklore, I guess because the folklore reminds me of Midsummer, that scary movie. But it reminded me of that because, you know, Midsummer is like, there's like a folklore tradition, like there's a story, and then these images just feel very folklore, so that reminded me of that, which I guess made me feel more scared. Phew, that was a lot of theorizing, speculating, brainstorming. Whether you watched 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 seconds of this video, I want to say thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And let me know in the comments what your theories are about birth. I'm always interested in hearing what other orbits are like thinking about. I will see you next time in another K-pop conversation.